Hey everyone, out here fishing the Mosquito Lagoon today, fishing a 2-hour trout window. Didn't really get to the spot I wanted to before it started, so ended up throwing a topwater around and picking off this nice trout to start the day. Sorry in advance for that black speck that's on the camera. I had no idea it was there, so you're going to see that throughout this entire video. Nice little trout. So, ended up going to the spot and first cast, huge blow up, and I'm thinking it's a nice red at this point. But stood up, came next to the kayak, and that's about when I realized I had a nice trout on. So at this point, I'm going full-on cautious mode. I'm thinking this is a close to 30-inch fish, so I want to take my time with them. I could tell she's a pretty old girl because she's not really fighting that much. Just kind of lazily throwing some head shakes here and there. So now that she's kind of coming up sideways with her mouth open, I can safely get some fish grips on her and gain control of her. Although she didn't like that very much at all. So the moment of truth. Just under 30 inches. Close to 30. Now I will say, you see where she's hooked. You know, it's not a spot where she would be bleeding. But she ended up bleeding a little bit. So I didn't really get a good shot. I just wanted to get her back in the water, as you can see. She's got a little bit of some blood dripping from her. So just wanted to get her back. And she swam off, and I doubled back around, because usually if they die, they'll end up floating. But doubled back around and didn't see her, so hopefully she lived. So kept on moving. Once again, hooked up.
He's like 21, 22. You know, just a 21, 22, no big deal.
Now I'm talking with my buddy Richard. He ends up kind of talking about the spot. So had to cut out some of his audio.
Do, buddy. mean, day's already been made with the trout.
Oh, I know. Now everything's a bonus now.
Yeah.
Fucking 29-inch trout, man. Shit, that's a trout of a lifetime for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's just a throwback for us. Alright, man, it's okay. Just go back.
Oh, this is a big male.
What's that?
It's a big male.
Nice.
Because he's croaking.
So, shortly after I released that one, I looked over and saw a bunch of tailing redfish. So, of course, I had to just abandon the trout hunt for a bit, just to have some fun with some of these reds. Again, this fish is probably in that 28 to 30 inch range. It's a nice fish for the Mosquito Lagoon. So released that one, found a shallow flat, and just saw all these redfish that are just belly crawling, showing themselves. I make a cast at this pot of fish, and at first I was pretty careful, thinking I'd get some sort of reaction bite, considering how many fish are in that pod. But obviously, no reaction whatsoever, and that lure was pretty much on them. So I'm going to cast a little bit closer, see if I can get any sort of reaction from these fish. And again, no reaction whatsoever. So at this point, I want to put it on their noses and have them either eat or spook. So obviously there was a lot of fish there, and the fact that none of them ate raised some red flags. But stayed in the area, and here comes another fish. This time it's a single. So I'm just going to wait for this one to come within range and see if I can get a good cast on it. So this fish just totally went in the opposite direction of my paddletail, which means it's telling me these fish have been hit before. Maybe a boat came through when I was messing with the trout and messed with them, but I can tell these fish were not acting like they should. So moved on, found a little cove that just held a bunch of drum. And I didn't bring any shrimp or didn't even have any gulp with me. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to throw my paddletail. And these drum usually, I've caught 3 or 4 drum on paddletails in this area. So I knew they would react to it. Or at least one would. And after making a cast at like 4 or 5, I finally got one to eat. Not the biggest drum, but certainly fun to play with on light tackle.
Paddletail. Black drum.
So after I released him, went to searching on the flats for more fish. Saw a tail sticking up on the edge of a sand hole. Pitched to it thinking it's another black drum, and then hooked this beast. Now unfortunately this was a lose-lose situation. You see all the grass? If I let this big girl run into the grass, she'll get a bunch on the line and end up pulling the hook due to all that added weight.
Oh!
And so I decided to just try and keep her in that sand hole and hope she'll tire out, but she ended up throwing the hook. So ended up deciding to start heading in, and about a mile or so from the ramp, I ended up finding this nice little redfish to kind of cap off the day. Nice little added bonus. Was not expecting to find fish on the way in. Actually had everything packed up. And then saw this dude and I was like, you know what? Let me add another redfish to the tally. So, overall, it was a successful trip in terms of trout fishing. I wanted to come out here and hit a 2-hour trout window and see if I can hook a big one. Ended up landing a nice 29-incher and lost that other one that was probably of the same size. Got 2 reds and a black drum to go with it. So overall, it was a good trip. You know, I wish I could have caught more reds, but you can't really be picky when you land a 29-inch trout first thing in the morning. So hopefully you like this content. And if you did, please like and subscribe. I'll be posting videos every week. And if you haven't yet, check out my other videos. And yeah, till next time. See ya.